So hello, everyone in the audience. Thank you for tuning in. This is the VA panel here at PonyFest Online 4.0. I am joined by our three wonderful VA guests, and I will let them introduce themselves because otherwise I'll butcher their names. We were just chatting about this a moment ago. So starting with, you know what, I'll just say the names. We have Giles Panton.
Hi everyone. Very nice to meet you. Thanks for having me here.
We have Hanlin.
It is me. Hello.
We have Hanlin, and we have Devyn Dalton.
Hello.
So I mean, the most obvious question is, how was your day gone? Giles, this is your first PonyCon, I think?
Yes, and it was a lot of fun. I've been wanting to do one of these forever, and I really enjoyed it. There's some very sweet and cool people here.
Had a chance to chat with people during your autograph sessions?
Yes, we dove into everything, all of the stuff that I love. We talked about anime, we talked about Star Wars. It was a lot of cool conversations, yeah.
Well, great. Now I have nothing to talk to you about. You've gone through all the questions already. No, thankfully, though, we will be taking questions from folks in the audience. So, folks, if you want to go to bitrate stage questions in the Discord, we will be opening up questions there in 10 to 15 minutes. Keep your questions appropriate. Understand that these folks can't talk about projects that are still in the works or haven't been officially announced or things of that nature. Let's start. Well, Giles, this is your first con. Ian and Devyn, you've done these before. How does this con compare? Bearing in mind that we've got staff from the con listening in.
Wait a minute. This is a trick question here.
But have you been enjoying your day?
Yes, very much so. It's always nice to like meet everyone and see them face to face. And it was good to see some return Zoom call people. It was nice to catch up. Yeah, it's just been nice to have this stuff still. We're starting to, hopefully next year we can go back to regular cons, but it's definitely nice to fill it in with this stuff. It's super good.
Fingers crossed.
So I'm super happy to be here again, and so far so good.
And Ian, how about you?
Yeah, it's been a ton of fun. It's been really great to, as you say, get to connect. The cool thing about doing these online like this is that you get a chance to see people from all over the world. And like sometimes people do, travel for cons, but this is a really interesting way of having literally everyone has access to it. So, we were chatting in the green room earlier about, it's like, oh, we met people from Germany and, from Prague and the UK and just all over and parts of America and Canada. So it's been really cool to get to see people and see into people's computer rooms today. It's been fabulous.
Yeah.
It's a format that kind of got born out of necessity, but it does have a lot to recommend it. As you say, it opens up access to folks who might otherwise not be able to speak with you all.
Mm-hmm. And I haven't been to others, but some people talked about how nice it was just to have the quiet kind of one-on-one time, because it can get really noisy at cons sometimes.
You often don't find that. There's the hustle and bustle of a live action convention. Well, hopefully you'll get to experience one in 2021 and you can compare for yourself.
I will. It will happen.
So let's talk about your work. And I'm going to ask what I'm going to call the almost famous question. Have any of you seen Almost Famous, the film?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. Question at the end. So, Russell, what do you love about music? I'm going to ask each of you, what do you love about performance? Dead air. Oh, damn. Bad question.
We're all polite. We're just waiting. Who's first?
I'll call Ian. Name out of the hat. Ian, what do you love about performing?
What do I love about performing? What I like about performing has always been, I like to dial it back to, I did Boy Scouts for a really long time when I was younger. And we used to do a thing every night where you'd be around the campfire and each group was responsible. Okay, tonight you have to do a song. Tomorrow night you have to do a skit. The night after that, you have to lead the group in a cheer. And so I always was like, skit night. We're going to crush it on skit night. And so I just really liked that thing of let's see if we can put a smile on the faces of everybody sitting around the fire, which was this very primal thing. And I just always really liked that. Let's see if we can tell a story that works on the people who are here. So I've always just liked that side of it, the storytelling side of it.
That's so sweet, Ian. I know. I get to participate by watching and learning now.
Giles, how about you?
Oh, yeah. I I have always loved just getting lost in a world, just getting completely, fully lost in it. And like when I was a kid, I watched a lot of like grown-up movies, like not the naughty kind, but like, like no, like.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Hey, no, I remember when I was really young, my dad took me to go see Ernest Goes to Jail, and it was sold out, and it was only a 2-theater movie theater. So the other movie that was playing was The Hunt for Red October, and I was like 7 or something. And so he's like, "Don't tell your mom." And so we went and watched it, and I was like, oh, "What is this?" And like, so then I just started consuming like Dune and all these insane, like just big epic movies. And I've always loved just getting lost in a really great story. And that's one of my favorite things about acting, is just to like dive in, and then when you look back, you're like, what happened? Like, what did we do? And you get to see it, how they cut it together, or how they edited it. And just I'm a sucker at heart for just getting lost in an adventure. That's why I love video games. That's why I love movies, and that's why I love acting.
We're going to do the favorites question a little bit later on, and we're going to have to find out what your favorite video games and films and books are. But Devyn, what about you? What do you love about performing? And you do so many different types of performance and expression. We talked about this a little bit last time. My goodness, the list just goes. What do you love about all the different types of performance that you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's my passion. It always has been naturally. Like I always chose to do it right from being young. I started with dance and theater, and there's just nothing like the feeling when you're lost in a role and you're performing, and you don't even know really what happened, and it's over, and you just like have this like adrenaline. I don't know. It's like the feeling of performing and being on stage. There's really no way to describe it. It's awesome. And same with being in film. Like when you get to actually work on roles and see it all come together, it's so special. And I think that's why I dabble in everything, because I really like the movement side of stuff. And then I also like actually, the dialogue and speaking and connecting. But storytelling is so important. And I love when we get to tell stories maybe that other people can't tell. And again, yeah, getting lost in a role is the best. And also, I've enjoyed so much the people that I've had a chance to meet through this, and the connections you make there, that I think maybe I never would have got to cross paths with them if I didn't go on this journey. So it brings me a lot of joy. It brings me a lot of things, but it's definitely my passion, and I there's nothing else I would do. So I'm glad this plan worked out for now. It was plan A, B, and C. So.
That was actually the next question. I'm curious to know, what would you all be doing if you had not got into acting? But was there ever a backup plan? Was this always your plan? How early? I mean, Ian, you mentioned when you were doing Boy Scouting, but how early in life did you all kind of know that this is what you wanted to do with your life? And did you ever have any secondary backup plan, or was it always just make or break?
I remember I did the musical in grade 11, and then I remember finishing that in sort of like late May and going, oh no, this is what I want to do. and just being like, how am I gonna tell my parents that this is what I want to do? Not because I didn't think they'd be supportive or anything like that, but it was me kind of being like, this is what I want to do. Even at 16 or whatever, I was like, that's going to be hard. That's okay. That's a tricky one. And I was in, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Like there wasn't a big scene there or anything. So I was like, where do you go? So I basically, for like my entire senior year of high school, sort of was like, I knew it's what I was going to do, but I sort of put off telling it, and everyone's like, yeah, I think, chemical engineering, or like, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. I'm like, I'm still thinking about it. And then I remember being like, so I think I want to do drama. And everyone was like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So I was more hung up on it than everybody else was. But so I'd say like end of high school, I was pretty much aware. But my other thing that I thought about doing was being an English teacher.
Excellent.
I would have liked to have done that, because I think that same kind of like, let's like break down a story and sort of figure out why it works or why it doesn't work and that kind of thing. So yeah, that would have been my backup, I think.
And Giles, how about you?
I literally had no idea what I wanted to do. I came out of high school and I went to forestry in university because it was an easy end to science. And so I just spent the first year doing general sciences, and I was like, I have no idea. I was like, okay, you go to university after school. And I randomly took an acting elective because we had a bunch of electives to fill, and I really liked it. And I was not liking school. And I must have kind of tipped off to my family that I was not enjoying school and that I liked this class, because my dad, of all people, recommended an acting school based on someone he knew. And I went to it, and I fell in love. I was a 3-month course. I at the end of it, I talked to my teacher, said, hey, look, like, what would you recommend doing? I'm feeling a little lost, but I loved this. And she recommended that I take the full-time program. I auditioned, I got in, and that changed everything. But yeah, similar as Ian, I just had really supportive parents, so I feel lucky in that way too.
I want to talk a little bit about first roles. Devyn, I know that your first role was a Christmas movie. Actually, this leads me into a question for Giles, because Giles, you've done 5 Christmas movies, including 3 in a single year?
5 in the same year.
5 in the same year. I beg your pardon.
And then I've done 6 or 7. But yeah, that was a busy year. That was a crazy
How? How did that happen? And of course, you're not filming them in December. You're filming them earlier in the year, so that must be kind of.
It was interesting because one was with like Leanne Rimes, and so what they did, normally the Christmas movies all get shot in the summer just because that's what they do.
Right.
But this year they started shooting them in like February. I'm sorry, I'm very visual. I was drawing an arc of the year for those wondering what that was. But yeah, so we shot one in February, and then I shot one in like April, and then another one in the dead of summer in like full. And there was fires going on too, so it was like smoky sky. I'm wearing a sweater. I'm like standing in fake snow and melting. And then we did 2 in that summer, and then 1 right around September that year. So it was
a year of Christmas.
Pardon me?
A whole year of Christmas.
Essentially, yeah. And I didn't wear out of it. I'm a sucker for Christmas. I just like Santa. I don't know.
And Devyn, what was your experience like as that being your very first role?
Yeah, I mean, I had done.
I beg your pardon, your first screen role? Or...
Yeah, I had done like some little stuff as a kid, like commercials and theater, but that was my first time booking kind of a lead acting role. So it was so exciting, and it was Nickelodeon. And as a kid, that was always a dream to be able to work for Disney or Nickelodeon. So for me, it was kind of fulfilling a childhood dream for me. And no surprise, I was an elf. I've played an elf a ton, 3 or 4 or 5, but it was so much fun. And the group that we had was it was such an awesome set. And it was like such a happy script, doing the comedy, and we got to do a little bit of stunt stuff. And so, yeah, I had a blast. And for me, it was really, really exciting to finally kind of be cast, acting, lead. So it was a stepping stone for me. And I knew I really just wanted to keep doing it after that, for sure.
There is kind of an endearing cheesiness to to Christmas movies as a genre. The optimism is there. There's no cynicism. It's just
very sweet. They're very, very sweet. It's a good way to pass the time.
In much the same way that Pony is. My little segue there back to the topic that we're all here to talk about. If our wonderful staff overlords could please open up bitrate stage questions in the Discord, we can start getting some questions in from the audience, and I can start throwing those at you. Meanwhile, if you could please let me know how you got involved in Pony, because you all came in relatively late in the show's run. So it was kind of already established. It was quite well known in the acting community in Vancouver. Had you heard of it? Were you a fan of it? Did you want to be on it? Was it just another role for you? Give me the skinny on Pony for you. And I'll start with Ian.
Okay.
Pony was kind of like when I was getting kind of my feet underneath me as a working actor in town, it was already sort of a few seasons in, and was this already kind of monolithic voice job that was happening in town. Because, a lot of shows happen and they come and they go, but that was like, wow, this really has legs and it's got international attention and that's really cool. It's very uncommon no matter where in the world you are for a show to become what this show became. And so everybody was kind of, everybody was swinging at it, right? For almost once a week for about, I don't know, 5 years, everyone in town would get an audition to be on My Little Pony and kind of be like, okay, maybe this one, I don't know. And so, it was definitely something that was everyone kind of wanted a piece of it, right? Just to be like, wow, I did it. And so when I was lucky enough to get on there, and then found out it was like, oh, it's a 2-part episode, like right on, okay, cool. And then I thought that was that. And I was very fortunate. They kind of kept every once in a while bringing the goofball back, and and referring to me. And Sunburst.
There's a lot of love for Sunburst in the fandom.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He means well. Yeah. So yeah.
Devyn, how about you? You came in season 8, I want to say.
Yes, correct. Yeah, I had done a little bit of voiceover, but I wanted to do more. Of course, I knew what My Little Pony was. I did not know to the extent the fan base and just how wide the show reached. So that surprise kind of came after being a part of it. But definitely when we did the audition, I really didn't know if it was for 1 episode or 2. And then when I booked it, I also had no idea that when we went in that it would be something that would lead to, all of season 8 and season 9. So it kind of just got better and better and better. But I was super excited because I knew this was kind of, I knew this was a big one. And I knew some of the other actors on it, like Kelly. I'd worked with her before. So I was super excited. I was super happy. And now with all the stuff that's come after it, it's just been one of the most rewarding things I think that I have done.
And Giles, you came in season 7. Oh, I'm going to get it wrong and they're going to yell at me in the channel. So I'm going to make sure I get this correct before I finish asking the question. You came in, yes, season 7.
Yes.
Yes. I could have just asked you. I'm going to shut up. Giles, please tell me about your experience in season 7 of Pony.
I pitched a tent outside of Big Jim's house, and just every day I do different voices until eventually he called I so wanted to be on My Little Pony forever. This was the one cartoon that I wanted to be in, and with Ian, it's weekly. Is this the character? Is it going to be this one? Is it going to be this one? And then when Flash Magnus came down the pipe, the audition, I was like, oh, wait a minute. This fits. And it's when I ended up getting it, I definitely jumped up and down yelling in my living room like me, very excitedly. It was really cool, and I just felt so lucky to become a part of it, and I too thought it was only going to be just the 1 episode. It ended up turning into 3 little ones, and that was very cool for me. And I still feel very, very grateful. In fact, today being my first con, it's been so lovely. I really, really like this group of people. It's very cool to be a part of. So
first con, but not the last one, I'm sure.
No, it's not actually. To be continued.
I was speaking generally, but it sounds to me like you might already have stuff in the works there. Interesting. Well, we'll stay tuned there.
Yeah.
So going through the questions now, thank you everyone who are asking questions. I will try to get to as many of them as I can. If you don't have a chance to get your question answered, I do apologize. Hopefully these wonderful folks will be open to chatting on, future cons and Twitter, active on Twitter at all.
Absolutely. On Twitter.
Marvelous. Okay, so I see Justice would like to know, do you have a favorite scene or line that you voiced in the show or really in any of your work? But yeah, I'll leave it up to you. And we'll start with Devyn. I need to call on people. Ian, beg your pardon. Well, no, we started with you last time. Devyn, favorite line or moment?
I was like, wait, what?
Pardon me. It's late.
When I got the audition sides, there was a line about pillows. And she's like, pillows, how nice. And Ocellus was so excited. And I love pillows. I have 10 on my bed. My couch is covered. I don't know. So for me, that was that's the reason I chose to audition for her. So it's still one of my favorite lines. But I also loved recording the the Christmas episode. Speaking of Christmas,
it all comes back to Christmas.
Yeah, it all goes back to Christmas. That was an awesome episode because we got to kind of see into the life of each of the young six, and we all kind of got our little moment to say stuff, and it just went in a little bit more in depth. So I think it's a really sweet episode, and Ocellus' stuff was pretty funny, very Ocellus. So I love that episode still. It's one of my favorites.
Giles, how about you?
I like fighting dragons. That was very fun. Yeah, when Flash Magnus got his shield and just and took off and baited the dragons and just tore around the sky, teasing them, so all his colleagues and all his brothers in hooves could get rescued. That was
it's a big damn hero moment.
Yes, I love the hero moments. That was a lot of fun. And I mean, the second favorite was kind of the first time I got to meet my descendant, and we had a little moment there. But yeah, my first favorite is fighting dragons. I mean, it's dragons.
And Ian?
I'm always quite partial to in the first episode where Sunburst showed up. Starlight goes on this big thing where she's like, and then I did this, and you just don't understand. You got to help me. No. And she just totally unloads on him, and it cuts to him, and his glasses have sort of slid down his nose. And he just goes, "Did you really travel back through time?" And it was the one thing that he just plucked out of what she had said. And so I always quite like that.
And the channel is about to explode with people thrilled that you did the voice. So thank you for that. Actually, we have a question for you as well, Ian. I'm not sure if you can answer it or not, because Pony Life is airing in different parts of the world, and in some places it's out and in some places it's not. But someone is curious just to know how it differs from working on Friendship is Magic. If you want to tackle that, please. If you don't want to, completely understood.
All I can really say is it differs in that it is shorter. There are shorter.
Less time in the booth.
Less time. But very, very, very fun to get to do anything with that group. And it was like a high school reunion. It was really cool getting to see everybody.
So, just scrolling through here. That's another nice question. Oh, no. Please bear with me a moment. Please do speak amongst yourselves. Actually, no. How often, that's a question. How much chance did you all get pre-COVID to sort of socialize? Do you just see each other when you're at auditions? Do you just see each other when you're on the same show? Or do you all kind of know each other outside of that? I guess I'm asking what the social environment of Vancouver is like for you all, for working actors. Anyone?
I had a chance to meet Ian and Giles in person. Like, we never recorded episodes together, so it's cool to meet other people from the show through the cons. I find that super awesome. But the young six, us, we really hit it off. Like, I still talk to them. I do see some of them and hang out. We are friends outside of the show as well, which is awesome. But yeah, we would have a hoot when we'd record the episodes. So it just kind of worked out that way. But I love that with the cons, you do get to actually meet other people from the show, because we don't always get to record with each other, and you know their characters and stuff, but it's really cool to see each other's like actual face. And that's been kind of a nice like bonus with this as well.
Giles, Ian, do you agree with that, or have you hated this entire thing?
No, I love this. I love it. And to be honest, I am like going out on a limb for rejection here. I consider Ian a friend.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Because friendship is magic.
Yes. No, there's so many of us in the voice community. I mean, Vancouver really does have a voice community. We actually hang out. It's really cool. Like there's a lot of pillars of our community, like Vincent Tong and Brian Drummond and these guys who bring us all together for like art. Like, I remember a bunch of us went and played archery tag with Big Jim once. We're shooting these like marshmallow arrows at each other, trying to like kill each other.
Thank you for clarifying they were marshmallow arrows, because that went very dark very quickly.
Yes. No.
Here comes the fan art. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's very much one of those cases of, especially when you're working on a show with someone. Like, I worked on Giles with I worked on Giles. I worked with Giles on.
Here comes the fan.
That's much better now, Ian. I'm going to
Exactly.
steer this in the physiotherapy direction.
Yeah, right. The very first show that I got to be a regular on was Nexo Nights, which I got to work on with Giles, which was just this amazing experience. And like, again, Vincent Tong and Brian Drummond and Nicole Oliver and Aaron Matthews and Marika Hendricks and all these AJ and all these incredible people were on that show. And we got to spend all this time together and we got to really know each other. And then, you keep bumping into each other at auditions and things. And then you go on and do another show with a different group of people. And then you hang out with those people for a while, but you're still constantly bumping into these people. And then, I'm on another show with Giles. This is so cool. And now we're working together on this one. And so it is that kind of community where you keep seeing people. Like one of my favorite things to do when we used to be allowed to audition in real life was going in, I'd be like, okay, who do I think is going to be there? Who is going to be at this audition for this thing that I'm reading? I'm like, okay, Giles will probably be there. Then maybe Vince, Adrian, Cole probably be there. Like, and it's that kind of thing where, and you'd see people all the time. And it was this great, like, even if you go in and you didn't get the job, it was so great because you were constantly getting to see all these other people being like, oh, they'd be really good for that. Or, oh, cool. Who ended up on that? Oh, they got awesome. That's so cool. And it has been such an incredibly supportive community where it's not that thing of like, no, it should have been me. It's always just that like, oh, that's so cool. That's great. And yeah, it's been a very, very supportive community, which feels a lot like the pony community in some ways. Like everybody really wants to just lift each other up.
Collegial versus competitive that you might find in other kind of industry towns.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been pointed out in one of the channels that today is International Talk Like a Pirate Day, apparently. Hey. So if any of you wish to avail yourselves of that option for the next question or two, entirely up to you.
Maybe I may some doing some questions and we talking this way or not.
Good grief. Test for Echo would like to know if there's one thing that you could change about your character. What would it be? And I'll start with Devyn on that one. As a pirate.
Oh,
no. If you want.
That's all I got.
Fair enough.
No, I would change Ocellus ever. No, really. I was so happy when I saw what she looked like. And yeah, no, like I think I love the way she looks. I think that it matches her character so much. The only thing I would change is that she should have came in earlier. Before season 8.
Ocellus from season 1.
That's what I would change. Yeah, season 1 Ocellus for sure. Just so I think it would be cool to have seen more of her life story and her, like, just see the young six grow together a bit more. That's all.
We need the Ocellus spin-off now, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, you mentioned your love of pillows. Do you have an Ocellus pillow yet? Because
no,
that's got to exist.
I want a plushie so bad. And today, everyone I talked to on Zoom showed me their plushies, and I'm super jealous.
See, that's the thing. If it was an in-person con, that they would be able to give you one, but alas.
Every con I've gone to, they did have a couple, but they were sold. They bought them. So yet to
next
come.
time, sometime in 2021. Plushie makers, if you're watching, get an Ocellus plushie, get it ready. 2021, fingers crossed.
Please.
Ian, Giles, how about you? What would you change about your characters, if anything?
Giles?
Yeah, I like Devyn's answer. I would just love to have seen a whole bunch more adventures with Flash. And I think the characters are so well written and they fit in so perfectly that I don't see how I would want to change anything about Flash or any other character for that matter. Just more would have been fun. I loved being on the show, and it would have been really cool to see what Flash was like in some other circumstances. Like what might he have been like with a bunch of young foals that were not soldiers? Like is he awkward? Is he playful? Like who knows? I would have loved to see him in a bunch of different atmospheres. That would have been cool. But no, the show's beautiful. I would never ever dream of touching anything to do with the characters aside from more.
And Ian?
I would have liked one Sunburst song, like in the vein of maybe like a Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, or something like that, like a silly song that he got to do, like that had to do with either, researching magic or some sort of spell thing. I think that would have been fun. Because it was, I'm not trying to be like, I'm a great singer, but there was so much amazing music on that show.
Now's your chance, Ian. Do
it.
Go for it. We've got time.
But I just think, that's something that, again, as everyone said, like I wouldn't touch a frame of it. But if I had to sort of be like, oh, Blue Sky something, it was like, that would have been fun to maybe give him like a little like 30 to 40 second song or something like that would have been cute.
Thank you for those answers. Devyn, we're getting a perennial favorite question regarding Ocellus. Ocellus and Giles. What are your thoughts on that pairing? Are they friends? Are they more than friends? People need to know.
Well, I don't know, you guys. My lips are sealed.
There we go.
I think who knows, right? I think that I don't know. That's up to
it's up to the
others
fans.
to decide. Yeah. But I like it.
There we go. As long as you're not horribly against it, then
No, not against it. I think Giles is great. I think that would be pretty sweet and cute.
awesome. Okay, so scrolling through the questions. Thank you everyone who has been asking questions. Again, if you have them, please ask them in bitrate stage questions. Okay, question for all three of you again. You're all performers, obviously. You've all consumed a lot of media as well as acted in a lot of media. You've all got your influences. If there was one sort of iconic character or role from any of your favorite works, any work, what character would you have loved to be able to put your stamp on? And it can be live action, it can be animated, whatever you like. Looks like Giles has an answer, so Giles.
Eddie Dean from the Dark Tower series. He is a totally lost guy in his like 20s, 30s. He's just ruined his life, and all of a sudden he's flung into this crazy adventure. And it's like I've always wanted to play him. That's kind of a niche hit, but like I know they ruined the Dark Tower adaptation movie-wise, but they could still make a very long-running series. And I'm the right age to play Eddie. I would love that more than anything. That's mine. That's for those who know, they know, and who don't, he's pretty cool. And
that's not a deep cut, though. I mean, Stephen King. That's some popular work there. That's some great work. This
is true. No, but I love it. The Eddie Dean character and his arc. It's like a redemption story because he's not a good dude, and then he's forced into a position of heroism, and he's got to step up. Yeah.
You mentioned Dune earlier, and I was really hoping you'd go for a character from Dune, especially with the new film coming out though next year.
Yeah, no, it's not like they're going to make another one, are they? No.
They've got five more books to choose from.
I love Dune. I love it, but I don't think they maybe if they make it in 20 years, then I'll play like Duke of something.
Ian, how about you? Iconic character. Who would you like to play or wish you could have played?
This is a bit of I don't know, maybe it's a bit of an evasion of it, but I'm a little too old for it now, and it doesn't exist anymore. But I would have loved to have done an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh, good choice. I would have
loved to have done one of those. They were so cool. They were like, that just scary enough. They hit that total sweet spot, and I would have loved to have done one of those. That would have been really, really cool.
So the theme here is coming back to Christmas and coming back to campfire stories. Those are the two running themes here.
Ian, there's a strong chance that'll get made into a cartoon at some point because with the
I would very much love
that's getting made right now. That could.
Do you remember Freaky Stories? That was kind of in that vein too. That would have been fun.
Oh yeah.
I think that was a Toronto show. No. But yeah. Are You Afraid of the Dark would have been cool.
Classic Nickelodeon show for folks who are not familiar with it. Look it up. If you can find it, absolutely watch it. It's really good fun. Devyn, how about you? Iconic character. What you've played so many different characters in so many different ways. Can you really beat playing an ape?
Yeah. Oh, I love doing the ape stuff. I would do that all the time. It's so much fun. I just like it because I get to mix movement with acting. So for me, that kind of takes like two things that I love and puts it together. So, but you know what? I would love to be like in some kind of fantasy, magical, like I want to be Tinkerbell in a dream world. I want to be Tinkerbell so bad, you guys. Come on. I think it would be so much fun. I could do flying, I could do stunts, there'd be kind of movement to her. I think it works with obviously my size. And I just love fantasy. I love stories that take you out of, as much as I love really serious dramas and all that stuff, I really like to just escape and kind of go to a different world. So I would love to go to Neverland and be Tinkerbell. That's my dream.
Well, fingers crossed again, once COVID clears up and once you can all get back to work, well, live action work, I should say. How has it affected? There's a question. How has it affected your output? Are you still able to do voice acting? Do you have a home studio? Are you able to social distance and go to a studio? How has it impacted you? And really, how are you all holding up? Should have started with that. How are you all doing in this very unpleasant time? And I'll start with Giles.
At the beginning, it was tough. At the beginning, it was tough. I mean, it was like all of a sudden we're locked in and forced to just sit with ourselves, which means I get to look at everything I wasn't looking at. And that was a cathartic, interesting process. And also just to watch the world, it was scary at moments. I took a lot of solace in media, a lot. I mean, I think we as a world consumed the most media at any given point in the last like 8 months, like just devoured trillions of gigabytes worth of stuff. And
Netflix did very well for itself.
Yeah, it blew my mind. I mean, side note, they were like on track to maybe not win the streaming war, and then they come from behind. But yeah. So to jump into some of the other stuff you were saying, the voice industry only shut down for about a month, and then it opened back up again. But we weren't able to do ensemble work anymore, which I missed so much. We were doing it individually, and there was a lot of cool cartoons that I was in the middle of doing. And when to start the season with the cast and then to finish it without it, I was like, but I felt so lucky to be able to do it. And then film started up again in BC also. I'll leave room for everyone else to talk about, but BC's been really lucky because it's booming. I'm literally shooting a romantic lead with my wife as the other lead right now for like a TV, one of those classic like romantic comedy movies. So it's quite the journey from like to whoa, what is going on?
Ian, how are you holding up?
Yeah, well, I mean, at the beginning, as Giles was saying, there's definitely tough stuff. My dog was thrilled I was home all the time. But as it kind of as it went along, you sort of realize like, okay, well, again, voice managed to sort of keep happening, and part of the way it did that was by going to individual recording, which if you do dubbing and stuff like that, you already do that on your own. So it sort of felt like sliding into a dubbing situation or like a pickup session. But like Giles was saying, he was in the midst of recording a season and then it switched to individual records. I actually started a show while this was happening. So we didn't get to have, we did a few like reads over Zoom as a group, but we didn't get to have that initial kind of like formative, okay, in the room, everybody's sort of like getting that vibe off of each other thing. So we've been recording the show and it's going great. And, I've heard some of it put together, but it's just such a strange experience of beginning in a vacuum and then sort of seeing and going like, I hope this is gonna fit. And that's where your director is really instrumental in being like, okay, keeping everyone working together and making sure that it's all gonna click together when all the pieces are put together. So it's definitely been a new experience. But again, we're in that strange type of industry where you can take all those pieces separately and click them together. And if you do your job right, they fit. So it's been cool.
So really adapting and rolling with it, but just making the best you can out of the situation, which I guess is all any of us can do. Devyn, same Same kind of situation? And
similar stuff. I mean, it was definitely kind of crazy at the start, and because you just don't really know what's happening. And I was just heading to the studio that day to start kind of a stunt job, and they messaged and said, no, we're shut down. So we'll reconvene in a month, but that month has turned into nearly a year. And that, those projects will be back next year. But I have to say, I also kind of enjoyed the time to just do things that I don't normally get a chance to kind of get back in touch with the artistic side of it. Sometimes when you're working all the time, you don't do as much like reading plays or working on monologues or writing stuff. And so I kind of enjoyed finding that part again and getting the passion back. And now I'm so excited to go back to work. So it kind of in turn brought out like some good things as well. But it was definitely interesting at first. And now things are starting to slowly open up again. But it's definitely been, it's a new normal, right? So it's different, but so far, I think good things will come from it. And I feel good about it. I'm glad that we could at least like have this stuff in between, because I was super bummed that some of the cons were going to be canceled and stuff like that. So I was so thrilled that we still get an opportunity to kind of do something. And although it's not quite the same, it's still keeps the energy going, and it's awesome. It's really nice to just have these moments to connect, even if it's through a screen. I'm very thankful for Zoom during this time. It's been kind of a hero, I think.
Well, I know that everyone here is very grateful that you all came out. Thank you for doing so. We've got several questions in here from people who are curious about how to kind of break into the voice acting industry. So if you have any advice along those lines that you would like to share, any words of wisdom. But I also want to ask, what is the worst piece of advice you have ever been given that you have elected to ignore? So good advice to offer and awful advice to ignore. And we'll start with Ian.
Well, I'll start with awful advice to ignore, which is, if you want to get into that, you need to be the man of 1,000 voices, and you need to have this unending, bottomless well of just like you sound, this incredible, impossible wealth of voices. And that's not true. There are people who do very, very well in this business who have one voice. That said, it still requires a great deal of ability and of training and of patience and of putting in time and work. But, don't think that just because, you have maybe just a handful of voices or just your own voice that, why bother even trying? It's about the acting first. The voice is kind of the tool, but the acting is the soul of it. So it has to come from there. So don't worry if people are like, oh, you'll never, this guy does 1 billion voices. You only do 2,000,006. Like, that's not like, it doesn't, don't worry about that. And advice for getting in, I would just say, I don't know, I just do goofy voices all the time. I always did growing up. It was just constantly like, even if it's just like an offhand sentence here or there, like tossing a thing around. Me and my brother and sister would quote The Simpsons across the dinner table at each other. Our parents looked at each other like, did they just not speak English? I don't understand what's happening. But as long as it's coming from a place of fun and you're enjoying doing it, I think it has to start from there. So yeah, that'd be my advice.
Devyn.
Yeah, it's similar. Like, I guess the worst advice would just be, people not believing, saying like, oh, it's really, really tough to get into that. Kind of giving you the, why even bother trying? And same thing, like, well, if you don't know 1 million accents or you can't do all these different dialects, then how will you get in? And for me, most of the jobs that I have booked through voice are pretty similar to my voice, changed a bit, but not super drastic. So I think it's definitely a good tip to say, like, the acting is really where it comes from, the storytelling, bringing the character to life. And if your voice does that, then that's great. So, but training is good. I really do encourage people to train. I think like if you take classes and you work on your craft and your tool, it's going to get better and better and better. And you're just going to have that chance, maybe that one up against other people because you've put the work in, the time in, and it just gives you a space to explore your own voice. Like I watch cartoons and I always wanted to be a part of it. And I thought it was so, so cool. And so, yeah, I would just play around at home with my own voice, talking different ways, doing different things. But theater and improv and all that kind of stuff helped me kind of get out of my shell because I think it's really, it's such a playful thing, voiceover. For me, it's like you get to be a kid again. So it's so much fun. You get to go big. It's not like film where it's all about kind of like bringing it in smaller. It's really like going bigger. And so for me, it's so much fun to just kind of like go over the top and then see where it goes. So it's really play. It's like it's playtime. So have fun for sure. But take classes, do acting, do theater, do things that bring you out of your shell. And then you'll probably find out that you have a lot more voices than you ever thought you did. And don't be discouraged by maybe if you don't know a bunch of dialect. Or I had one person say because I was Canadian, I wouldn't be able to do it. Because they thought, because they said the Canadian accent is too much. And I was like, what? Oh. That makes no sense. So just,
what
you know, if you want to do it. And just don't fall in, you know, there'll always be people who don't believe, but you'll always have people who do. And so just go for it. Yeah.
I got let the fact that you're Canadian hold you back. That's
no.
And Giles, how about you?
That they answered almost everything. Honestly, I was gonna say very similar to Devyn that yeah, I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, it's so tight knit, it's so small. Don't even try, you won't get." I tried for years. No, it's one of the most welcoming and open communities I've met. They're always looking for new people, and I would agree. I think it's really, really, really important for it to start from the acting, and what I mean by that is like just coming from you, exploring something, and see how it affects you and how you feel about it. And something that I think is really, really valuable. Now, there's two kinds of improv. There's the like comedic improv, which is really fun and really cool. But there's another style of improv acting, which is you literally just go wherever your impulses take you and see what happens. And I think it's super, super valuable to touch into your natural impulses and see where they might go, because your creativity lives in that place. And all the other cool voices and everything else you can do, those help enormously as well. But if you're not listening to that, almost that voice of like, oh, let's try this. Oh, let's try this. Let's try this. Then I think that's where you can start to pigeonhole yourself into a place where the acting becomes more an idea than it does a living, breathing thing that's just happening instinctively or very, very viscerally, whatever it might be. But yes, all the other advice, fantastic. Take classes, make a ton of crazy voices, like have a conversation with your pen or hello, like whatever it might be. Like just be silly. And like, yeah, ever since, similar to Ian, ever since I was a kid, I always made voices, and like a lot of the crazy, silly voices that I did, I ended up putting into characters. But then also, like probably 50 to 60% of my characters have just been this voice, but a little tougher, playing a hero. And so yeah, I mean, yeah, everything everyone said. Fun, play, so important.
So when it comes to fandom, obviously you've now all got some experience of the pony fandom. Are there works that you yourselves are fans of that you would consider yourselves, you know, a member of a fan community? Are there shows or books that you will really enthuse about with other fans to this kind of extent? Giles, you're nodding, so I'll direct that at you first.
Yes, well, there are many genres, but The Witcher, I've been in love with that game series forever. Oh, the third one was just so beautiful. I'm also a huge Mass Effect fan. Like, I loved that trilogy so much. I was very forgiving too. At the end, I'm like, that's okay. I love you, Shep. Like, I even liked Andromeda. Like, sure, shoot me. But like, I was like, I'll play it. Like, I'm such a sucker for the Andromeda.
You're on board for it, yeah.
Yeah, for the Mass Effect series, I could talk for hours about video games. I have a couple friends who just have video game podcasts, and I'll go in there and we'll like nerd it up all night long. just talking about everything. And then other fandoms, like, yeah, I'm a massive Stephen King fan. I love his works. It just, it moves me so deeply. And then I also really, I'm a huge fan of sci-fi in general on TV. So, but yeah, the Dune fandom also. But I don't know. I don't know if I could chat for a long time about that stuff. But video games are the big one for me.
What are you playing right now?
Because
someone's going to ask.
Like 7 games. I got Ni no Kuni is amazing. I'm playing the remastered Ni no Kuni. It's so good. I love Studio Ghibli. When I went to Japan, I bought tickets 3 months in advance so I could go to the Studio Ghibli Museum. I love them. So they basically animated a video game, and it's like the most adorable, amazing combination of Studio Ghibli meets like Pokemon capture animals. But then I'm also playing like 10 other games. I'm playing Divinity 2. Sorry, I passed that. Division 2. I started the Division 2 right when the pandemic happened. I'm like, no, this is not a good time. For those who don't know, Division 2 is about the world that gets like taken down by a pandemic that kills 80% of the population, basically.
Bad timing then for
I was
it.
like,
Yeah.
I don't think I can handle this, but now I'm ready for some weird reason. But yeah, I could list games for a long time. I have a good 900 gigs of games loaded in my
Good gravy. Well, I'm being told that autograph vouchers are still open if folks would like to chat with you more about games or anything like that. So yes, non-Zoom chat autograph sales for the VAs. I beg your pardon, non-Zoom chat autograph. I'm just going to announce this. Non-Zoom chat autograph sales for the VAs are still open. So if folks want those, that sounds actually like they wouldn't get a chance to chat with you. So disregard what I just said. Sorry, I'm juggling about 4 different windows at once here. Ian, Devyn, are there any things that you would like to plug that you're a fan of, or just projects that you would love to plug while we still have a few minutes left?
Yeah, now that you said, I love the Studio Ghibli stuff. I love those movies, and I only like recently discovered them probably about 2 years ago. So for me, I was just like, so exciting to have like some animated stuff that I just never seen, and it's so different. Yeah, I love that stuff. I love like Avatar, The Last Airbender. And I actually watched all 10 seasons of Stargate, which filmed here. And
that's something to be proud of. Nicole Oliver was in that.
Like, I think it's awesome. I think it's so awesome, and it's so cool to be like, hey, there's, you know, and it's so cool. And I think it's like an awesome, successful sci-fi show here, and it's really cool. And I like kind of nerd out about it. So yeah.
Ian.
Well, I'm a big horror movie guy. And so I've been for the past, basically since September started, I was like, it's basically Halloween. We're watching horror movies all the time now. And so a couple months back, I got Shudder, which is like the horror movie Netflix. And one of the cool things I really like about that is it's got all of this like 1970s Roger Corman, like kind of sleazy, sort of crappy horror movies on it. And they're amazing. They're so great. I love them. Some of them are these real hidden gems that you'd never see otherwise. And then you also get to find some really cool indie stuff. Like we watched one the other night. I believe it's from 2019, but it's a film called The Headhunter. Giles, you should check this out. It's called The Headhunter. It was made for a budget of $30,000, and it looks like it cost $10 million. Ooh. And it's essentially if The Witcher was a horror movie. It's great.
So Giles, you've got homework from Ian, and folks in the audience, it sounds like you've got your homework sorted as well. Watch these things. Unfortunately, I do have to call time there. Thank you, everyone in the audience, so much for all of your questions. And thank you to the 3 of you, Giles, Panton, Ian, Hanlin, Devyn, Dalton. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. And hope to see you again, either here or at an actual con in person.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This has been such a treat. And I look forward to seeing everybody again really soon.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
so much.